That apple is the Patriots offense.
It's Jacob DeGrom. It's the home run apple. It's from Citi Field.
It is, but I'm just saying, like, it's a disaster apple is what it is, and it is embodiment, to bring it back to actual football, of what the Patriots offense looked like yesterday. Brutal. Mac Jones did not get it done. Bailey Zappi comes in, to your point, throws a touchdown pass. It counts as a touchdown pass. It was a little bit of a duck.
Yes, but as we were talking about, it was a worse throw, that touchdown pass, than Mac Jones' interception, which was also really bad.
Yeah.
But interesting move from Bill Belichick to roll out the Friday Night Lights Season 3 two-quarterback offense. Matt Saracen, J.D. McCoy.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones is a bit Matt Saracen about him. And then ultimately, like, we don't really know what's going to happen with this situation. It's very weird that the Patriots players didn't know that they were going to switch quarterbacks in the game.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, after the game, it was just like, and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman mentioned on the broadcast, he's planning on doing this, whether they were trying to cover for him or they actually told him that. But the fact, yes, Jacoby Myers, other players after the games, hey, did you know this was happening? No,
not at all. Now, fantasy-wise, what do we do with the situation? Do you think Zappi has a higher ceiling and can unlock some more Devontae Parker and Jacoby Myers?
To the eye test, it feels a little bit more aggressive. That he's a little bit more aggressive, which can be good, which can also be bad. I don't know that there's a massive difference here for our purposes, because if you are starting one, if you're like in a deep two-quarterback league or a superflex league where you're starting one of them, you can start the other one. Yep. Like, I don't know that one is going to be fantasy relevant in a significant way that the other one wouldn't be. Both are, either or is a low-end QB2 against the Jets this week, but there's now the threat that one of them might get pulled because, if he's going college style and he's playing two quarterbacks, you just don't know what's going to happen here. And we can talk a little bit more. I don't know that there's much to say about, you're starting Rhamondre Stevenson every week. You're starting, Jacoby Myers every week. And then I think it sort of depends on your roster as for whether Damian Harris or Devontae Parker get a real chance here. So, I don't know that there's much to take away from the Patriots offense. I think it sort of is as it is. I was disappointed by the Harris usage yesterday. Yeah. Stevenson was amazing. We talked about, on the BetMGM social promo, we said, give me the over on 2.5 receptions for Rhamondre Stevenson, right? And that ended up cashing. So one of the few winners from last night. We had a tough night. Now, we all took the unders.
It wasn't a tough night for Justin Fields, who finally broke out. He gave us the game that I think the people who drafted him were expecting going into the season, and he mostly did it on the ground with those 82 rushing yards and the touchdown.
He has now had 3 straight weeks with 17 or more fantasy points, back-to-back weeks with at least 18 fantasy points. He ends week 7 as the 5th best quarterback in fantasy. You think about their upcoming schedule, Cowboys, Bears. That can't be right, actually. He's not going to play his own team. So my note here is wrong. I apologize for that. Cowboys, Dolphins, Lions,
that's handy.
And Falcons are the next 3. So none of those defenses scare you from can they stop Justin Fields running? Like, I actually think Dallas, even though it's a really good defense, might be good for Justin Fields running around and, watching Micah Parsons try to chase him all over the field. 80 yards rushing. Back-to-back games with 80 or more yards rushing in this one. Why don't we do this real quickly? Because I thought 2 things. Number one is, I think that's the best game I've seen Justin Fields play from start to finish.
Yeah, forget fantasy. He just looked good out there.
He just looked good out there. He ran the offense. They had some designed runs for him as well, which I think was important here. I think almost 28% of his rushes in last night's game were designed runs. So that's exciting as well for me. And he made some accurate passes as well, as you see it here on your screen. 12 rushing attempts in week 7 after 21 in weeks 1 through 6 combined. These are designed runs, as you see it there on the top of your screen. 12 designed runs from last night. That's exciting to me, Jay Croucher. Yep. So back in my old stomping grounds.
Yes.
We used to do a thing called the name game, and then it went away. I invented this thing, name game. People would send in really fun sort of drops that we would play, and then it just sort of went away. I don't know. the fun got sucked out of a lot of stuff there at my old place. And so anyway, for whatever reason, we went away from the name game. So it's kind of out there. And I invented it, so screw it. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it over here, and so anyway, so let's do a quick name game here. By the way, and any fantasy football pregame listeners out there that want to, do their own home edit for a name game that remember me from the 06-010 name game, by all means, please send it in. You can tag us on social media. Anyway, so quick question: rest of the season, do you want Justin Fields or Tom Brady?
I'm still taking Tom Brady. But it's a lot closer than you would have expected, certainly 2 weeks ago. But I think with Godwin and Evans back, I still think that Brady, they're throwing a lot more, even if they're not throwing effectively. I'm still taking Tom Brady. But here's the more interesting one for me. Would you rather have Justin Fields or the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers?
I'd rather have Justin Fields.
Me too.
And I actually don't think it's that close.
It's not close.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have Justin Fields.
I mean, it is what it is. I think Justin Fields is a borderline, QB1 the rest of the way. I mean, I think he's in that 10 to 12 range. How about my preseason guy, Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
That's close because I'd rather have Cousins over Rodgers, and I think that's neck and neck, Cousins and Fields. But I think I would lean Fields just because of the rushing upside and what he's shown. But I think that's neck and neck.
That one's neck and neck as well for me. I think I'd probably prefer the floor of Cousins.
Yep.
I think it would depend on what I need. Like if I need upside, it's Fields, but I think the floor of Cousins.
That makes sense.
In fairness, I haven't checked the schedule to see how many primetime games the Vikings have. I don't think. Go ahead.
Derek Carr.
Justin Fields. I'd rather have Justin
Matthew
Fields.
Stafford, that's an easy one.
I'd rather have Justin Fields.
Justin Fields as well.
I'd rather have Justin Fields. I mean, Derek Carr is all he's doing is handing off to Josh Jacobs, and Stafford's look brutal. So again, I think just to give you a range of sort of where we think Justin Fields is of the list we just said, I prefer Brady to him and Cousins barely to him, but otherwise, yes, over Rodgers, over Carr, over Stafford. Let's talk now, Jay, about these running backs here. Sure. Dave Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I took the over on 10.5 receiving yards for Dave Montgomery, a number that he's hit in every game this year except the one in which I predicted he would do that.
Khalil Herbert stole his catch, stole his touchdown. But yes. I mean, the surprising thing is that both had fantasy-relevant games. Both got in the end zone. Montgomery has the slight bulk of the rushing attempts. Herbert, as he typically is more efficient with his own attempts. But, I mean, the thing is that we've always been talking about how it's ridiculous that the Bears don't pass more because they have a bad offense, and why aren't they passing? Well, if they're going to run the ball like this, and then you add Fields in his 14 rush attempts for 82 yards as well, then there could be fantasy relevance across the board. Something like a fantasy buffet in Chicago.
243 rushing yards. That's the second most the Bears have done this season. When you think about Montgomery, Herbert, and as you mentioned, Justin Fields. Look, that's a recipe for the Bears to have success, right? Play good defense and run the hell out of the ball with those three guys, with Fields, Herbert, and Montgomery. Maybe they will continue to do this. This was an impressive win by the Bears, right? I mean, they had 10 days. They came off the mini-bye, a bad loss to my Commanders at home. The Bears were at home. And then they go on the road to New England, and this game wasn't close. Game wasn't close. They got a little bit of a spark when Bailey Zappi came in, but honestly, the Bears dominated from start to finish. Congratulations to everyone in Chicago. I think the rest of the way, unfortunately, like you saw there on the screen, 40 snaps for David Montgomery, 29 for Herbert. I think you're going to still have to, until we all prefer Khalil Herbert. We all think he's the better running back, but we all does not include head coach Matt Eberflus. No. So as long as they continue to insist on playing Montgomery more than Herbert, I think you have to continue to play them that way. I think Montgomery remains an RB2 and Herbert a flex play with massive upside if anything were to happen injury-wise to David Montgomery. For the first time this season, he played less than 60% of the offensive snaps, David Montgomery. So maybe there is some hope for those of us who carry the flag for Khalil Herbert.
Yes, and I do think that there is enough upside to be able to start both of them each week, just because it's a kind of an Arthur Smith light situation where even when they're down, as they were against the Packers in week 2 on Sunday Night Football, they're still running the ball. They're not going to have Fields throw it 50 times. Fields isn't going to put on his Matt Ryan hat and just unleash 50 pass attempts. They're going to keep running the ball. Now, before we get into RotoWorld headlines, just quickly, Rhamondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, I think it's just, you're not worried about Rhamondre Stevenson. He was still able to put up big numbers, mainly in the passing game. Game script got out of hand, but, I mean, Damian Harris, is he basically just stashed at this point? You hope that Rhamondre goes down?
It was his first game back, and then game script got out of the hand, and so they prefer Rhamondre Stevenson in passing downs, right? I mean, he was used on every third down plan. This is Stevenson, right? So I think that this is. I'm not ready to throw the towel in on Damian Harris. Like I was in the preseason, I was like, it's Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yes, you like
you
that
know,
one.
like
You like that one a lot.
I was just like, I prefer Stevenson, even though Harris is going higher in ADP. I prefer Stevenson. I think he's the better running back, the more complete back. I've been team Rhamondre all along. Having said that, I'm not ready to just say, okay, Damian Harris has no use. Again, game script got a hand, and so they prefer Stevenson in the passing downs. But I'm hanging on to Harris this week. I will say, though, Damian Harris likely on the hate list this week against the New York Jets. I do think Rhamondre Stevenson is sort of matchup proof.
The suddenly elite defense of our New York Jets. All right,
yeah, but I mean, Harris is still like, Harris is a touchdown dependent high end flex.
Yep.
That's what he is.
That makes sense.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.